I was taking lots of notes. In fact, the racket, I know that some were saying in our internal chat that, yeah, they had heard about that before, but I hadn't. How is it that when I was thinking racket, like tennis racket, but there, really for it, give us a little bit more insight on that one.
On a
How is that going
racket?
to help us?
Well, see, the mind tricks us into thinking this is keeping us safe. But so by showing up what we don't want, we think because it's familiar, it is safe, which is why often people think chaos is safe and why people chase chemistry rather than compatibility. And if the chemistry fizzles out after a certain amount of time, they then give up on the relationship because then the compatibility starts to show up or not. It's like my book, on the cover of my book, you can see the heart cracks are filled with gold. I'm not sure if you can see that.
Yeah,
That's
I can.
Kinsukuro or kintsugi. It's the Japanese proverb to mend with gold because it makes the imperfections more beautiful. But people tend to not get to that point of healing those imperfections. They're simply chasing the trauma bond, as it's called.
So now let's get real with this. And keeping to attract the same type, and you're breaking that pattern, and like you said, the gold and everything like this, I love that with the heart. There are times, and you mentioned it with the domestic violence, that you do have to make that decision to walk away, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And if you have trauma from the past, your imprint phases that have taught you to people please, to not have your values or stand in your boundaries because you're fearing rejection, for example, then you will continue to stay in relationships that aren't serving you because you're wanting to either fix them or be chosen. Instead, we need to choose ourselves first. When you choose yourself and you stand in your values and your boundaries, and also understand the difference between settling and compromising, because settling is when we need to walk away and compromise has to happen in a relationship because we don't always agree 100% of the time. And so once you get to that point, relationships just transform.
Say that again. I think someone needs to hear that again.
Which part? The whole thing?
That sometimes we walk away too fast, right?
Yes. Sometimes we walk away too fast because of our love blocks. We self-sabotage. So, and even as a conscious love expert, my relationship had triggers and traumas that we needed to navigate. And now it's the most incredible, conscious, deep, loving, supportive relationship I've ever experienced in my entire life. And
whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, anybody that knows me knows I've got that deserves like, okay, good for you.
Thank you.
So there's hope.
Yeah, absolutely. But you have to be discerning. You have to know the difference between, are you people pleasing and settling, or are you compromising and working together? And how you know the difference is the action that takes place. Mm-hmm. So if the person you're with is all talk and no action, then you're going to be settling. If you see the action behind the words, then it's perfect.
Thank you so very much for joining us in what has to be the middle of the night for you there in the world down under in Australia. And you guys, follow her. You've got the information. Belinda Love, thank you so very much for sharing this topic. And remember, guys, if this didn't touch home for you, ask that question again. Who do you know that needed to hear exactly what was said? That's going to change their 2025 going into 2026. Thank you again, Belinda.
Thank you so much.
Together we are Global Speakers Talk.